So we've seen there are really two groups of people involved in the blockchain over the last few years. There are those who are clearly building unique and interesting tech, and those who are speculating. And we'd like to see the heroes as the people who are really building amazing tech that allow small companies to publish applications on a distributed platform that persists for a very, very long time. And I mentioned earlier that there are many consumers who will only buy brands that they feel will be around for a very long time. And when you build an application, a non-fungible token or an application on the blockchain, what you're actually doing is you're building something that's going to be around for as long as the blockchain is around. And we believe that's going to be for a very long time. Blockchain is unique because it exists everywhere and nowhere. It exists on many, many servers across country boundaries globally. And we're now starting to see applications like coin.cred, which allow people to take their own digital asset. It could be my artwork if I'm a Portland artist, coinify it on the Stellar and Ethereum blockchains, and then send that artwork out to my fans, my followers, and get comment back from them on the blockchain. And why is this amazing? It's amazing because I don't have to rely on a social network that I don't own or a social network who's been selling my content for a very long time. So why are we running this conference? Because we want to provide a leadership role in what we think is the hero of the blockchain, the non-fungible token community. We've seen some amazing applications. We've partnered with CryptoKitties, we've partnered with OpenSea, we've partnered with the people who we believe are the movers and shakers in the NFT space. And we want to bring the thought leaders together, the thought leaders of the NFT space together in New York at the PlayStation Theater, put their products and services up on a billboard in Times Square. And we want to say to the world, hey, you need to have a look at NFT as an amazing application on the blockchain.
So can you tell us a bit about your topic and what you hope to communicate during that time?
The thing about blockchain gaming today is kind of like mobile gaming before 2000 in terms of infrastructure build. You know, it's very early. And I think there's just a lot we could learn from how mobile game developers managed to overcome, those obstacles, which I believe is just very, applicable to blockchain gaming and blockchain game developers. Just so much we can learn from that development, how they overcome those hurdles, and how we could apply those learning to how we develop blockchain gaming today.
So I'm going to be speaking on NFT 2024 for a moment. Be a futurist and tell me what you think NFT 2024. Give us your thoughts.
There's a famous saying, the future is already here. It hasn't been distributed yet. So the way I think about, the future of NFT is that obviously we're still at, its infancy. The infrastructure is poor. Distribution channels, we don't really have decentralized app stores, and the talent that go into building blockchain gaming is still limited compared to, traditional gaming world. We just have like so many talent developers working on that. But in blockchain gaming, that talent pool is still limited, and obviously it requires different kind of skill sets. Despite all these kind of hurdles, I think we have a bright future ahead of us. We just have to take a patient approach.
cast your vision. Like, what do you see happening 5 years from now in the NFT market?
Well, I'm going to answer it in two ways, right? Very quickly. One is that, the laundry list of stuff that we all want to happen will be behind us, right? Cross-platform, built-in contracts and jurisdictional things, we'll have onboarding that will work. We'll figure out from my world, which is environmental philanthropy, how to connect IoT types of devices into these ecosystems, because today there's a lot of really cool projects, like one called Crypto Corals in Paris, another one called Cacao Shares in Venezuela, and one out of Bangkok that are doing just that. They're bridging the real world with the online world, and IoT is the feed for that. But in a word, if I want to look that far into the future for anything, what I really want to happen is for NFTs as a tool to enable the concepts of philanthropy and social impact giving to go away, right? That's what I really want to happen, because today it's a black box, right? Even if we create a lot of awareness, we eventually have to go and find high-income people and ask them for money, right? So my goal is that with things like NFT, we'll be able to kind of like roll in social impact giving into standard ways that we do business in the world, so that, just as today we look at the balance sheet as a core, we'll be able to have giving and giving back as part of that financial infrastructures, and NFTs as a tool.
Yeah.
Could possibly lend to that in the future.
Welcome to the Golden VIP Lounge, also known as Jody Rich's domain. Jody, thank you for joining me.
It's great to have you in. I love your energy.
Oh, thank you, Jody. So we're here at the PlayStation Theater in Times Square, New York. This was your and Cameron Bale's vision, and your whole team of People Browser have pulled this off, and I'm so grateful that you trusted me to come in and create some extra value for the speakers and sponsors here.
Well, what you did was you created videos. How many did you do? 100 videos?
104 videos.
And you said Cameron and I, it's also Devin and Alex at OpenSea. It's been a real team effort. And we've had 150 speaker applications.
Amazing.
And today we have 400 people who've shown up.
So tell me a bit about your hope for this event, and then what you've seen happen that exceeded expectations, and maybe things that you hope will happen for the future events that you may do.
So we picked NFT because that's our focus, and we wanted to bring the thought leaders of the NFT community together. And we've seen that. We've seen extraordinary networking, and we need to have the networking because the app developers need to get to know the exchanges, they need to get to know the wallets. The app developers can be sharing tokens amongst themselves because that's what NFT is about. If I have a sword in a game, I should be able to use it across games. Or if I create a token about myself, which I have done, I have made a whole series of tokens around my life. Those tokens should be transportable across any platform. And that's what's really cool about NFT and the blockchain.
And so tell me about People Browser and Cred. You have many different brands. Those are two I mentioned. Maybe give a little, 15-second, like this is what my companies are, so people that maybe don't know you and what you do have some insight.
So if a brand or an influencer wants to create their own NFT that's actionable, the Utile token, that we could make 100 of you, 100 coins, and share it with people. You could give it to all your fans, and when they accept your coin, they can be connected in your own little baby network. So they're actionable with social actions, and you control it.
And I'm talking tonight about NFT 2024, my personal 5-year predictions and hopes, but more specifically, I've been interviewing several dozen speakers and collecting their predictions and hopes so I can string in some of those things in my talk. Share, what do you think, or what do you hope this industry becomes in the next 5 years?
Right, so in one sense, this industry has been around a long time. It's about digital assets, right? Domain names are digital assets. My birth certificate is a digital asset. My passport is a digital asset. They also exist in physical form. Sure. And the blockchain is getting more and more sophisticated, so we can store more and more sophisticated digital assets that can even think for themselves. So one of my digital assets might be a little bot that roams around the network, the internet like me, and it finds things that I might want, or it makes decisions for me. So we're going to see NFTs becoming more and more intelligent. Right now, my life's NFTs are my birth certificate and pictures of me when I was a kid and learning to fly and my university degrees and the businesses that I've been a part of. And they're redeemable for certain things that I'll do for people. In the future, they may be redeemable for much more complex things. Maybe even an AI that can speak like I do.
With your accent and at least a shadow of your personality, if not even very similar.
Yeah. So I'm a New Yorker. I know I don't talk like it, but I was born here, and I was dragged off to Australia during the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. That's why I speak like this.
What question would you have liked me to ask that you could have answered? What do you want to tell people that you haven't had a chance to say?
Well, I'm really overwhelmed with the support that we've had from the community. I'm overwhelmed with the way people have networked, and I've been really overwhelmed with how New Yorkers have embraced NFTs and the culture that we have created. So I wanted to say thank you to the New Yorkers.
And for all of your future events, imagine that this is a 10 or 20-second promo reel for the next NFT or the next People Browser, next Cred event. Why should people come to your events and be a participant, a speaker, a sponsor, an attendee at the events that you are going to be creating in the near future?
Well, we've worked really hard to connect people, and we've worked really hard to give people an NFT swag bag. And the swag bag consists of all sorts of really fun virtual assets that people can redeem for either real goods or services or even just 5 minutes of my time. So the NFT swag bag's been part of it, getting people to connect's been part of it, and we've also tried really hard to welcome all sorts of different speakers, not just speakers who have money to be sponsors, but speakers who have really great ideas.
And one of the things that you've instituted in this event here is the concept of 5 people in the audience taking a token and basically acquiring or trading that token with a speaker for 5 minutes of their time after they speak. Why should other events model, copy, engage your team to help them do the same or something similar?
because I've been to many events, and for me, there's nothing more frustrating than seeing an amazing speaker who's just out of reach, who you can't actually connect with. So we want you to be able to connect with our speakers. And we've also been a little wild and crazy. I've put this this onesie. I'm a crypto kitty right now. But I will take it off if you want to wear it. And we're going to give.
I'm tempted.
We're going to give these away.
I might be too small for that.
I have one that's one size bigger than you would be just.
Okay,
you would be beautiful. You would be sleek and beautiful.
Hey, you know, I mean, it'll humble me and remind me to.
No, you're beautiful anyway.
No. And I'm confident enough, anyways.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Jody.
Yeah, good on you.
We'll be back. We're going to roll a video and come right back with another interview.
Yeah, and certainly because of blockchain, we now can take NFTs truly digital with real true transparency, security. Like we know there's only one of these digital assets in the whole world. You can track it. I mean, a lot of things are available today that you couldn't do with baseball cards, right, 20 years ago, just because it said 1 out of 50 or 1 out of 1, or couldn't do with World of Warcraft or Magic the Gathering as people were buying and selling and trading these digital assets. Things are definitely different because of blockchain. So that's a very exciting development. Obviously, we see the benefit of the crypto kitties, their success, and of course, there'll be lots of success after that.
Welcome to the Golden VIP Lounge here at NFT.NYC in the PlayStation Theater in Times Square. And I'm here with another fireside chat interview with another new friend. So please introduce yourself and what you do.
I'm Chaz Martin. I'm a painter, sculptor from Portland, Oregon. And I'm here to observe as well as to share what I've learned so far.
Great. How's this event been? Has it met, exceeded expectations? What have you enjoyed, and what would you like to see for future blockchain NFT events?
So far, I've seen an incredible amount of imagination, an incredible amount of chaos, and I'm saying that as a good thing. Chaos for me is an indication that there's room for more creativity, more innovation, and I value that highly. Things aren't locked down. Nothing's cast in stone at this point, so there's lots of room for a lot of different ideas to really mature, really become something. So that's, speaking to the future, to come back next year, I expect to see a lot of other new ideas. And a lot of the ideas that I've heard discussed today maybe have blossomed and turned into something a little more tangible.
Yeah, that's great. And are you looking to forge formal partnerships, make investments, business development? Like, who are you looking to connect with? People, organizations, and how should this conversation start? Where do you want them to lead?
One of my goals in getting involved in art.cred, which is why I'm here in the first place, was to learn a little bit more about how to use NFTs to help market my own artwork. Okay. So I'm doing a lot of experimentation myself.
Yeah. And what I'm talking about tonight, I'm doing the final keynote about NFT 2024, kind of the future of the blockchain NFT industry. And I'm not just going to share my predictions and my hopes, but collect them from the other speakers and sponsors. So share with me, what do you think NFT 2024 will look like, should look like, or at least your hope for the development of this industry in the next 5 years?
I see a lot more artists, painters, sculptors, artists of all kinds, capitalizing on using NFTs as a way to build larger communities, larger followers, larger communities of collectors. Yeah. And in doing that, making themselves all the more successful. Currently, I think in the art market, unless you're already fairly successful, the gallery system really is not favorable, and the gallery system is not as strong and powerful as it used to be, which really puts the burden back on artists to sell thyself.
You mentioned art.cred. You want to give a little more of insight on what art.cred is?
Sure. I have created a series of digital coins featuring my artwork with my website on the back. I've been distributing them among people I know fairly well so far, just exploring to try and understand what happens. The art.cred platform is still in its infancy as well and still evolving. So I've been involved with them to some degree in making suggestions on how that might evolve to make it a better experience both for the artists and for the people that they're gifting or selling their coins to.
Any question you wish I would have asked that you wanted to answer?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Glad you're here.
Pleasure. Thanks.
All right, we're going to roll a video and be right back to another interview. See you soon.
Thanks again.
How is the NFT market different today because of the explosion of blockchain and all the people investing their energy building blockchain products?
On the blockchain, there is no centralized authority. It's a distributed, decentralized system. And so as a buyer of a unique, scarce digital good, you can be sure of a few things. One is that when you buy one, there's no company to go out of business to make the item worthless anymore. It's an item that lives on the blockchain in perpetuity, no matter who created it and what happens to them. And your ownership can be verified by everyone. And the rules of the road can't change because the rules of the item that you buy are embedded in a smart contract. It's code that gets executed on a distributed computer called the blockchain. So you can feel more safety, more comfort as a buyer in knowing that just like buying a piece of rare art, the artist, if the artist is no longer alive, they're not going to be able to make any more pieces of art like that. Similarly, if you buy a unique digital good, like a very rare CryptoKitty, and the contract says that you own this good and there'll be no more like it, then there will be no more like it. No one can change the rules of the road.
Welcome to the VIP Lounge here at the PlayStation Theater in Times Square, New York at the NFT.NYC event. And I'm here with Oliver, who we've already done an interview before, made a bunch of videos about the NFT industry and this event and the future, and we're going to kind of have a rehashing of that conversation, and I imagine it'll be a bit different this time. So introduce yourself and your company and this really fun, amazing product that everybody loves. So.
Hi, I'm Oliver Carding. I work on Crypto Kaiju. These are soft vinyl toys that are kind of powered by the Ethereum blockchain. So each toy is backed by a unique ERC721 token. They have these little scannable things in the feet, and they basically, the serial number of that linked with the actual token ID. So we improve things in terms of provenance, authenticity. We can also have a lot of fun as well with them. So this guy could have a completely different name, description, date of birth, traits, some of which are scarcer than others than the next one. So we have this batch of toys, and each is digitally unique.
That's fun. So, like, in the future, maybe not right now in the early phase, let's say in a season or in a year, when you envision creating a product, how many of these products would you create? And is every single product at least a little bit different from the other, even if it looks the same? Like, walk me through the similarities and number, and then the differences, and like how it becomes truly a one of a kind.
Okay, so we'll begin with, we can literally begin at the top. So the actual serial number itself. So we use, we work with a company that's a spin-off of Philips, and they have NFC tags that have unique serial numbers. They have an anti-collision system in place to stop the serial number ever existing again. So we map that to the token ID, I'm just ERC721 token. So we know that the actual serial number of the toy is always unique, and then is always mapped to a different token ID on the Ethereum blockchain. So that is the kind of top level, most distinguishable, easiest way of kind of distinguishing between toys. But then we go further than that as well. So we have names. So you can call one Ian, one Ollie. We then have descriptions, and I've had a lot of fun with these actually. I don't know how much we're going to be able to do if we up the quantities, but for the first batch, they were all written by me, so there's a lot of clever references. There's a lot of references to kind of like 90s hardcore bands, hip-hop, obviously obvious kind of cryptography references. But it's been a lot of fun writing them, and we've had great feedback when people have suddenly noticed something and gone, "Oh, it's named after that guy." And you're like, "Yeah." So that's been really fun. I don't know how much of that we'll do as we increase the batches, but everyone will still have a unique description. Same with birthday. A lot of people use birthday with NFC or mint day, but we use birthday slightly differently, so it doesn't always represent the mint day. So you might have a character named after a rapper, and then you're also using the rapper's birthday. And then the final step is kind of these traits. So in the same way as like CryptoKitties have got attributes, we use, not as similar, but we have a series of different traits. Some of them overlap really well with the actual personality of a character if it's named after someone. Otherwise, we kind of make them up, just apply it randomly, but it means that some traits are scarcer than others. So, yeah, each toy is completely unique.
And one toy has one digital asset. There's not one toy that has 100 assets.
Nope.
Okay, so one toy per asset, and how many different main toys and then versions of each one? Like, how many base items have you made, and how many versions of each? Like, how much product have you pushed out? Because you're sold out right now.
Yeah, we sold out, but the first toy we did was called Genesis. And this is something I almost forgot to mention a little bit. It was an advantage of the way we are working, and just the advantages of the kind of technology is that we released a green one and we released a purple Genesis. And Genesis is just a dinosaur or a Bitcoin in a kind of Godzilla dinosaur outfit. But you can see which one's scarcer on the blockchain. You can see that the purple is scarcer than the green, and that's, we can prove that. You go out and you buy these designer vinyls these days, and you see it's an open edition, but how many actually is there? You don't know, whereas we can see. So yeah, we've done Genesis in 2 different colorways. This guy is coming out in March. This is just a prototype. I have the final production samples waiting for me when we get home tomorrow. As long as they're all A-OK, we'll probably start production Monday, Tuesday of next week, and yeah, we should have them out by March. But with this guy, there's going to be the Ethereum version, and then we're also going to do a Bitcoin version. So what we're aiming for is different colorways or different variants within each batch or each generation that we do.
It's awesome. Now, you came here to this event. How has it been for you so far? Like, exceeding expectations, and what do you hope for future events that Jody and his team at Peel Browser put on?
It's awesome. It's such a good event. It's every time I meet somebody, it's a little bit funny because I've been speaking to them for 6 months, a year, because we're all in these Telegram groups, and it's like, oh, it's you, and yeah, but it's been absolutely fantastic. You can't ask for a better kind of space or a better event for this space. It's like a brimming pot of just creativity, and it's brilliant.
It's awesome. Tonight I'm speaking about NFT 2024, and it's my predictions and hopes for this industry and this segment of blockchain, and also collecting your and the other speakers' thoughts and hopes. So I know we've talked about it before, but maybe rehash or maybe have some new thoughts on where could hopefully this industry land in the next 5 years or so.
I think in the next 5 years, major kind of publishers, games, anyone in the entertainment business will begin to adapt these standards. Like, there's just so many obvious advantages. It just doesn't make sense not to. It's really interesting because you look at what some people are doing, and you look at the wider applications, and yeah, it's a complete no-brainer for me. I think, as I said last time we spoke, I think at some point we will stop referring to them as non-fungible tokens. It'll just kind of become a norm for how we interact with these digital items that we own. So yeah.
And I guess I should ask you, was there a question I should have asked that you wanted to answer?
I don't think so.
Well, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so
once
much,
again.
Man. It's lovely to meet you as well. Thank
yes.
you for having me here.
All right, good. We'll be back with another interview in just a moment. Going to cut to a video. Be back in just a moment.
Hey, NFT 2024 looks like what do you anticipate 5 years from now?
For me, I think NFT 2024 is just seeing NFTs used to the point where we don't even realize we're NFTs anymore. It's just seamless integration with everything. I think we're going to see mass adoption in the kind of video games industry. We'll see a lot more kind of open source, open platform gaming with people trading items between games, and that really, really excites me. But overall, I think we just won't even call them NFTs anymore. I think it'll just be the norm. I think that's the biggest thing that NFTs will improve, is just completely changing and simplifying the games industry and the entertainment industry.
Welcome to the VIP Lounge here at NFT.NYC in the PlayStation Theater in Times Square. And I'm here with Donnie, one of the 85 speakers in our 12-hour extravaganza. And we created this space to have some more kind of fireside chat-esque conversations. So Donnie, please introduce yourself and what you do, so folks that don't know you, and also we're kind of getting to know each other in front of everybody, which is an experiment.
Do it.
So tell me a bit about who you are and what you do.
My name is Donnie Dench. I run a company called Bitsky, and we built what we think is the first mainstream wallet. And so we make it very easy for developers to drop in a few lines of code and allow their users to have a super simple and incredibly secure wallet in any native environment that you're building a game. So you don't have to necessarily build your product in a web browser or a dApp browser. You can just build it wherever you've been building it this whole time.
It's great. And how did you find out about this event, and what made you want to come be a speaker and be involved in it?
So I found out about this through other friends in the industry. The OpenSea guys were great. I think they may have reached out. But for me, I think that one of the biggest opportunities for blockchain in the near future is going to be with gaming. And I think a lot of the heuristics of digital assets and digital currencies are something that gamers are kind of used to already. And so I think that coming to this NFT event, seeing what the latest and greatest is, I'm excited to see. I think we spent the last year kind of experimenting, and I'm excited to see very solid projects building great games.
Awesome. And how has this event been? Exceeded expectations, and what's been your experience? And then what would you hope that Jody and OpenSea and Peel Browser, their events will be like in the future?
So this is actually a very well executed event. Yeah, the location's great. It's fun getting here in the snow this afternoon. But you know, I think that this event is focusing on the right things. It's focusing on builders, and I think it's focusing on opportunity. And I think the environment makes it feel very professional. And I think this whole energy needs a little kick in the ass to be taken a little bit more seriously. And this is a great step in that direction.
Yeah, it's great. Talk to me a bit about, for you and your company, like, what are you guys planning on this season, this year? Like, what's your immediate, strategies and trajectories?
Absolutely. So we spent 2018 building a very solid, secure infrastructure to store people's wallets. And so 2019 is about getting people to use that now. So we shipped that in November, and now we're focusing on heavily BD efforts. We're looking for very high-quality game developers, people that have built games before, that are interested in using blockchain as a new tool, and we want to help them integrate that into their product. And so, when you get to these new platforms, I think blockchain is one of the newer platforms that we've had. We've only seen a few in our lifetime. It creates all these awesome new experiences, and that's what we're focused on, is how do we get to those experiences. And so we're trying to abstract as much of the complexity away and help developers, game studios see the opportunity and realize that opportunity.
Yeah, that's great. Tonight I'm talking about NFT 2024, kind of the future projection and hope, not just mine, but yours and the other speakers. It's one reason why I have this room, is to kind of figure out, like, what do you think about the future? Because I want to tell everybody what you think, too.
Yeah, fair.
So NFT 2024, give me some idea of what you either predict or what you actually are trying to create.
I think NFTs in 2024 will look a lot like the 2 to 3 years after the free-to-play market started to arise for video games. It was first a few Facebook games, and then you saw a few mobile games, and all of a sudden now you see AAA games doing that. I think we'll be halfway through that progression in 2024. The reality is, for NFTs, the technology's there. We don't need any pie-in-the-sky problems solved. It's just a matter of implementing the right parts in the right time. And so I think by 2024 we'll have that figured out, and I think a few big companies will have that figured out, and we'll see some pretty exciting products.
That's great. Is there a question I should have asked you that you wanted to answer?
No. Okay. I think we're good.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining me.
Yeah,
absolutely. That was fun. That was fun. We're going to roll a video and be back with another interview in just a moment. We'll be back in just a moment. If somebody doesn't know what a non-fungible token is, and they come up to you, it doesn't matter to me whether they're like a potential investor or a client or maybe a new employee, but they say, like, so what's a non-fungible token? Like, how do you define NFT to people?
I define an NFT as the first vehicle that we have to enable true verifiable digital scarcity, which in plain English I define as, you can, whether it's a gaming item or a financial asset, deterministically understand that that asset is what it is, and it is as limited edition or as unique as the issuer says it is.
Welcome once again to the VIP Lounge here at the PlayStation Theater for the NFT.NYC event. And you're one of the speakers here today. And 85 speakers, right? Lots of panels to fit in 85 speakers in 12 hours. And so we created this space to have some more like fireside chat, natural talks without the pressure of a stage. And of course, you have Facebook and YouTube here. Thank you for your attention. We know you're there, and we are humbled that you would tune in. And we have Instagram and Twitter over here, and so we are streaming to the masses. So tell us a bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. My name's Topper Bowers, and I am the founder, one of the founders of Quorum Control, and we're building an open platform called Tupelo.
Okay.
And that is a new permissionless DLT system, which is purpose-built for individual objects, or NFTs.
Yeah.
And the big difference between our system is that we model these individual objects as the very base layer of the system, rather than having to build tokens, smart contracts, and then the stuff on top. The stuff on top is the bottom of our system.
Oh, okay. Okay. And can you explain a little bit more? Let's say somebody doesn't understand what you just said.
Sure.
Okay, smart contracts and the stuff on top, and you say the stuff on top is our system. So maybe break that down a little bit for those that may not understand what you just said.
Right, so in current DLT systems, you end up with something like Ethereum, where the real bottom of the system is tokens, the ether being exchanged.
Okay.
Then people have built smart contracts on top, and this is what NFTs have really become. So CryptoKitties are something called an ERC 721. It's a standard, but it's a smart contract and has to be deployed per CryptoKitty or per other object. Where for Tupelo, what we can do is rather than having those tokens at the bottom, we take the CryptoKitty or whatever the other NFT is, and we put that as the very bottom of the system. And now what's cool about that is that we can then have a simpler and faster consensus algorithm, which means that the whole system can come to an understanding of changes to those objects in a much faster and cheaper way. So where a lot of systems might take minutes to come to some sort of conclusion, ours happens in seconds. It can be faster, it's cheaper, and also for the developers working on it, it's a much simpler and cleaner way to work with the system. So it feels more like using an API rather than deploying smart contracts and learning something new.
Okay. And now, how did you find out about this conference? Why are you here speaking? What was your hope for this? Like, tell me about today.
Yep.
Did it meet expectations, exceed? Like, how's this been for you and your company?
It's been great. I think it's exceeded expectations. So I actually haven't spoken yet. I will speak in a couple hours. Yeah. I'm talking on a technique for helping. It works on Ethereum and it also works on our system about moving a lot of the checks and systems that are expensive to do on a blockchain and moving them into people's wallets. So moving some compute and validation of NFTs into people's wallets as opposed to on-chain. And today has been great. We've met a ton of great people. We have a table over there. It has a big screen playing our stuff, and it's been fun to see us on the, out in Times Square and stuff too. So it's been good.
It's a special location. Yeah. What do you hope that Jody and Cameron and Peel Browser as OpenSea, right? What do you hope that kind of the leaders of this event do for future events in a season or a year? Like, what do you love about this that you like keep doing that, guys? And what do you hope that like maybe they add or tweak or?
I think the people here have been great, so it's just been really good. There's a bunch of people working on cool projects from games to real world. I would love to see actually more real world projects. I've met a lot of the game asset types here, and actually, and it's funny, in our system, we've been so focused on enterprise, it's been for me to reset back and think, okay, yeah, but we are good for game assets too, so let me think about that problem. But, and I think that's, and the talks are rapid fire, so I'm missing some that I wish I could see. But other than that, it's been great.
Great. Yeah. And how about for your company? What do you intend to accomplish in 2019? Like, what makes you and your team successful? Like, this is what we're going to accomplish this year.
Yep. So mainnet is the easy one-word answer for that. But we are a relatively recent company. We were funded in late last year. I've been working on the problem for a while, so we actually have a running testnet now, and people can go on to quorumcontrol.com/build and actually download binaries and start playing with the system now.
Great.
But as throughout 2019, we'll be leading up to a mainnet, which will be getting a more stable network, getting people staked on there. We'll have a token event at some point. What that looks like, the details are undefined, but that's kind of our success for the years. Just get people on the system, using it, loving it, and getting feedback for us and building a system that people use.
Yeah. Tonight I'm talking about NFT 2024, kind of 5-year predictions, the future of this industry, not just as a futurist type of mentality, but also just like, hey, here's what we're hoping for, and collectively trying to build. And I didn't want to just give my opinions, which is why I have this booth, to find out your opinions, so I can integrate you and the other speakers into what I share. So NFT 2024, what do you think?
So I'm pretty bullish on the enterprise use, and I think that'll lead towards more consumer use, but I think the consumers will see it more hidden from themselves at the moment. So again, I'm kind of excluding the game assets. I think actually those have a real potential for like hardcore gamers or casual gamers to understand what they're using. But I think the enterprise will start to move more supply chain onto these systems, and consumers will start to demand more transparency in supply chain, which we've already seen. So I think we'll start to see things like your car being on an NFT, but you might just see it as an app that's run by Audi or something like that. But really there's a whole bunch of math behind that leading you to say like, okay, my Audi has a green supply chain and I'm happy to purchase this. There's good wage works and all those kind of things that consumers are starting to demand. But I think that the consumer understanding that they own this token is probably a little further off than 2024. Maybe we'll start to get there, but I am pretty bullish on short-term enterprise use and having some of that information flow out to users.
Great. Is there a question you wish I asked that you wanted to answer? Anything else you want to share with us?
Nope, but just go to quorumcontrol.com/build, and we love all feedback because we're new, and I think any developer who wants to use that will find it very refreshing compared to other systems.
Great, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to cut to a video and be right back with another interview. We'll be right back. So let's talk a bit about the future. Like if you project out the non-fungible token market, either enterprise or consumer experience, in 5 years, like what do you believe about NFT 2024?
5 years is a specifically interesting time range. We've seen a lot of products that have been invented, deployed, people are buying them and selling them right now. Markets go from 0 to millions just like that. But we're talking about billions here. So these type of markets actually take 5 to 10 years. And I think the larger application, much larger than anything we're talking about, is enterprise. Enterprise includes all of the things you're already wearing, eating, doing today. There's systems that support that. This is something that's really friendly for that type of system. Now that there's so much consumer attention on avoiding fraud, consumer rights, things getting injected into our supply chain that aren't good, government has more of a role to look into these things. NFTs helps here. So in 5 years, actually, I think less people will show up at the event, but they'll be representing much larger industries. Just like how many people show up at an Oracle event today, Oracle, the database. Bunch of people, not everybody, not people that collect baseball cards, but guess what? When you buy baseball cards, somebody in that supply chain is using Oracle.
Welcome once again here to the VIP Lounge at the PlayStation Theater. We are at NFT.NYC in Times Square, New York, and I'm excited to find out about you and your company and what you do. So please introduce yourself and tell us about your involvement in the blockchain NFT space.
Sure. Okay. So my name is Beatrice. I'm the founder of Dada. Dada is a social network where people speak to each other through drawings. So basically you create a drawing and anyone around the world can reply to a drawing next to it, and it continues it. And you create these visual conversations that are beautiful, and they can be like 40 drawings made by people in different countries who have never met each other. So it's a new way of making art. It's collaborative art. And what we're doing with blockchain is that they're native from the platform. So you don't upload anything. It's all made there. So we host them in IPFS, go straight to the contract. So they're basically native NFTs. Yeah. And so we now have the largest collection of digital art in the blockchain ready to be traded as NFTs. We have over 100,000 drawings. And yeah, so what we're building is a whole economy through that.
That's great. And you're one of the speakers here today, one of the 85 speakers, the extravaganza. 12 hours, 85 speakers, a lot of panels, obviously. And that's one reason why I created this space, was to have some more like fireside chat, intimate talks. So why'd you come? What were your hopes? Are your expectations being exceeded or met? Just talk to me about today.
Yeah, so one thing that that I was thinking about this event was that the community of NFT, the people who are actually creating, the developers, is amazing. I mean, the whole cryptocurrency ecosystem, was brought down by the end of the year. But for us, nothing changes. It's like there's so much to do. There's so much potential. And so one of the things about the conference, like we needed a conference like this where we could all sit and talk and collaborate and exchange ideas, because there's so much happening. It's so vibrant, and you feel it. Right? Like you feel there's like 300 people, 400 people, but everybody's very invested in the ecosystem. So that kind of effervescence is a beautiful thing. Yeah, you can feel that things are happening. So.
And for future events that Peel Browser and OpenSea do, whether in a season or a year on, like what are you hopeful for these types of events to become and to be? Is it what you're learning on stage, or the chance to speak, or the community, or the business development? Like, what are the things that you're most excited about for these types of events that'll be coming up in the near future?
Well, I'm very particular. So to me, I hope that probably other people would say, like, yeah, become bigger and 3,000 people or 20,000 people. I think the smaller, the most intimate, the better, but the right people and at the right time. So I think for that reason, I think this is a perfect event. And I think you probably should have less speakers, or maybe 2 days instead, and give it a little more time so that you can go deeper into what the ecosystem is doing.
I think that's great feedback. What are you hoping to accomplish in the blockchain NFT space personally during this year? Like, what is 2019? How is it successful for you? December 31st, like what do you hope to accomplish?
So we decentralized everything in 2018, and as I said, we have now the biggest collection of NFTs. So the question for 2018 is, what do we do with it? And redefining ownership, redefining how you experience art, what the uses of it are, and how can the drawings that we have in the platform be something else in a different platform, like Decentraland or the Kittyverse, or how all that works. So yeah, so that's what we're working on.
Yeah. Any question that you wish I would have asked you that you wanted to answer?
No.
Well, my last question is selfish. I'm talking tonight at the end, the future. I'm talking about the future. I'm trying to create the future with my voice. And one of the things I'm trying to do is find out from you and the other speakers, what do you hope for? What do you believe will happen by 2024 in the next 5 years? So NFT 2024, what are your insights?
Well, I'm hoping that it's going to be a freeing ecosystem in which content just flies away and things iterate, people reuse, use, we get rid of the copy law, the copyright laws. We forget about the scarcity and ownership, and it's more about what do you use these non-fungible tokens for, which hopefully won't be called non-fungible tokens by then. But yeah, it would open a whole new ways of interacting and experiencing these assets, and that's what I'm more excited about, because we're probably going to see things that we have never done before or seen before, and that's what is exciting. Yeah.
What if you went further out, like 100 years? You and I are probably gone, our descendants are living and doing amazing things. Like, what might this look like several generations from now as it becomes truly mature?
I haven't gone that far, and believe me, I tried to go really far, but that's too far. That's way too. I mean, 10 years. Like, it's blockchain time. Like a year, it changes completely. So to me, I think it's step by step. Yeah. But to me, it really is about changing a lot of the concepts that we take for granted, like ownership, which are to me completely obsolete. And changing how we interact, changing the impact of the internet and the digital life against the physical and the real life, right? So how one feed off each other and how we can benefit from both, or the best of both. So I don't know, I wish, if you see blockchain as it is right now, it can go in a completely dystopic direction, right? Or it can go into a really more sustainable, egalitarian kind of system, where people have more control and can be more creative. And so I'm hoping that we're going to go in that direction.
Awesome. Well, okay. It was good to get to know you. Thank you for coming and sharing for a bit.
Thank you.
And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. You had to say, hey, NFT 2024 could be. Like, give me your idea of what this non-fungible token market could be like in 5 years.
I take two sides of it. In the near term, I think, as I mentioned, we're still in the infrastructure phase. So I think the first couple of years will be focused on building those key pieces of infrastructure. And then after that, what I hope by 2024 is that we have both in the gaming space, a vibrant set of games that are leveraging NFTs, as well as secondary markets, open secondary markets through which those NFTs are traded. And in addition to that, vibrant secondary markets and primary markets for financial assets that leverage NFTs to represent those different financial vehicles that have been built.
One of the first questions I ask when I speak to folks like you is, can you define non-fungible tokens for somebody that doesn't understand what an NFT is? If somebody says, wait, what's NFT? What is that? How would you define it?
So I define non-fungible tokens as these units for rewarding users for the time they spend interacting with an application. It either takes the form of like a digital in-game item or a property like a username or a handle or an icon or an avatar that kind of symbolizes your status or your position and identity within an application.
Welcome to the Golden VIP Lounge here at the PlayStation Theater in Times Square, New York. This is the NFT.NYC event, if you just recently tuned in. And I'm here with a new friend, Jason. Jason, introduce yourself and your company and why you're a VIP in the VIP Golden Lounge.
Right.
So I'll hold the mic.
All right, sounds good.
You can talk to me and they can watch.
Sounds good. My name is Jason. I've been in the crypto space for 1.5 years now.
Okay. Veteran,
yeah. I've done it for a long time now. My company is called Kingdoms Beyond, and we are building an open world RPG game on the blockchain. So everything, including like gameplay, assets held, they're all non-fungible tokens and can all be exchanged for other assets.
Great. Yep. And as far as coming here, how'd you find out about the event? Why did you come? What were your hopes for today? The meeting expectations? Like, tell me about today.
Great. So I've actually been working with NFTs for the past 1.5 years. I don't have any experience with other people. I haven't connected with any other people because it's such a niche market. For me to be here and share my thoughts with everyone else, it's very interesting to see people who I can connect with, because not many people actually know about NFTs. Explaining it is difficult to the standard user. So being here today, it's really a good way to network with people who are sharing the same mindset.
Right. Well, we made 104 videos
wow.
to try to explain what NFTs are. And I think we did a really good job because we resourced 20 speakers to be able to share stuff. And so if you have a hard time explaining, just grab the NFT.NYC videos and share them, and there you go. So for the future People Browser OpenSea events in a season, in a year, what do you love about today that you're like, you guys have to keep doing this? And what would you like to see as these events develop?
Oh, for sure. I would love to see more of the mainstream adoption, more users who are just curious about NFTs in general, but not even that, just people who are in general interested in software, or even don't even care about the space at all. I just hope that they would come out to these kinds of events in the future, and at least we can at least educate them in the future. Yeah.
And talk to me about what you hope to accomplish this year. What at December 31st, 2019, what makes you and your organization successful?
Yeah. So our vision is essentially a player-to-player governance system. So we hope to build a game where the players are in control of our game. Instead of a company that owns all the rules to the game, like how everything is supposed to be built out, that would be owned by the players themselves. So I believe this is successful in terms of a gaming company, because the users definitely want to see what they want to play, and they have their voice in charge of our game. And that's the beauty of the blockchain, beauty of NFTs, and that's what we hope to accomplish in the future.
And was there a question you were hoping I'd ask that you wanted to answer?
Not particularly, yeah.
Good. Well, final question is a little selfish for me. I'm doing the final keynote tonight about NFT 2024, the 5-year predictions or hopes for this industry. And I didn't want to just say, here's everything I think. I wanted to ask you and the other speakers and VIPs, hey, what do you think? What are you building 5 years out? What are you hopeful for? And so I'll ask you, NFT 2024, what do you think, what comes to mind?
Oh, definitely. Same thing comes to mind, actually. Just really interested in player-to-player governance. So governance systems is key in terms of the future. The really balancing thing is for gaming in general, for NFTs, it's more about how centralized, how decentralized do people want it in 2024. We hope that the system would scale, so a lot more people would be involved in our system. So the main thing is scalability, getting people involved, and making it a lot more decentralized versus centralized. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad that you joined us, and I'm glad that you're here, that you're building for the last 18 months. And for those that are watching, we're going to cut to a 1-minute video as we transition to the next speaker. Twitter, we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.
That was great. That was great. Talk a bit about the future with me. What do you anticipate
or what do you hope for, like 5 years from now in the non-fungible token market? Like NFT 2024, what might that be like?
Imagine if the web looked like the gaming industry does today, where instead of there being millions of websites that you can access through a common interface like Google, there's only like 6 major ones being used or played by most people. And when a new game comes out, it's kind of the main game for the next couple months, and then it dies out. That's sort of the way the gaming industry looks like now, where there aren't that many games really. There's a couple that dominate, and everyone else falls apart or gets very small user base. With non-fungible tokens, the first vertical that's going to work is looking like it's going to be gaming. And I think what's going to change is there are going to be thousands and thousands of games, just like there are thousands of websites that all get some traction and that all do decently well or a lot better than the bottom 90% tail in the status quo gaming industry. And they'll do really well because they'll all work together in this ecosystem that shares success instead of being siloed in their own gaming worlds and user bubbles.
Welcome once again to the spectacular, immaculate golden VIP room here at the PlayStation Theater in Times Square, New York, at the NFT.NYC event. It's a 12-hour event, 1 day, 85 speakers, and it is quite the packed schedule over in the main room. This space is just to have some more organic, intimate, one-on-one fireside chat type conversations to meet some of the different speakers and VIPs that are here. And so why don't you introduce yourself? We don't actually know each other, so we're getting to know each other in front of people. Great. Introduce yourself and your company. We'd love to hear who you are and what you're doing.
Great. So my name is Brad Kam. I'm co-founder of Unstoppable Domains. We are building domains on blockchains. And the idea is to put the domain asset on a blockchain. Therefore, you control the asset yourself, your domain yourself, via your private keys. And they're uncensorable. That's why they're unstoppable.
So, and is that unstoppabledomains.com? Yes. Okay, unstoppabledomains.com. How'd you find out about this event? Why'd you come?
Yeah, so I found out about it through Cameron and the CredCoin crew. I was introduced to them because they're working on blockchain-based domain-related projects, and we started chatting. And they pitched the event, and it sounded great, and it has been.
Great. And for the future events that People Browser OpenSea does, what would you love to see be the same? Like, oh gosh, you guys got to keep doing this next season, next year. And what would you like to see maybe tweak or change or add? Like, give me some insight on how they could continue to do great events.
Yeah. Well, maybe a party tonight would be good. Although I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I think that this event, like this venue, is amazing. I think being in New York City is great. So those are my favorite parts. I would say for next time, it would be great if there was more blockchain-based domain stuff. It's an NFT. It's an NFT with a real-world use case, and I think there's going to be a lot more of those related projects in the future.
And can you give us some case studies that have happened in your space of domains, and that case studies that you're trying to build out right now this year? Like, what type of case studies have happened? And if you look to December 2019, what domain, blockchain, NFT case studies you're like, we need to do this or these things, because that's kind of what we're driving toward?
Yeah, so I think that as far as kind of where the industry is today, the traditional DNS world, the value of all domains is between $10 billion and $100 billion. So this is a digital asset class that is already huge and prime for blockchain. So far, the first successful use case, I would say, of blockchain-based domains was the ENS, the Ethereum naming service, which did $30 million in registrations in their first year before the domains actually had full use yet. So the market has been proven almost purely on speculation. And this was before the 2017 run-up in cryptocurrency values. So this was when the market cap was similar to what it is today. So that's kind of the now. Over the next year, the big things that we're trying to focus on are delivering two key features. One is to make domains work as payment addresses. So the idea is I'll just tell you my name, for example, bradcam.zil, and then you will type that into a wallet and you'll pay me. And you don't need to know my Ethereum address anymore. I can even attach my Bitcoin address, my Litecoin address. I can attach all of my cryptocurrency addresses all to one domain, and then we can get rid of this whole concept of these 41 character addresses. So that is use case number one that I think is going to make blockchain-based domains blow up. Use case number two is that you can build censorship-resistant websites. And we're building out the tooling right now to make both of these pieces easier, payments and censorship-resistant websites, and we expect to have a full tool set within the next year. But censorship-resistant websites may be one of the most critical pieces of infrastructure to free the internet.
So, the end of tonight, I'm talking about the future of NFTs. NFT 2024 is what we're calling it. And I didn't want to just give my predictions or my hopes. I wanted to collect yours and the other speakers, which is a driving reason why I have this room. So, I'd love to just hear your thoughts on domain NFTs 2024. Now, you can go futurist, like this is what's going to happen, or you can just say, hey, this is what we're hoping to create. This is what we're driving toward. Whether it never happens or happens in 2 years or 22 years, I'd love to see by 2024, ...
I'd love to see by 2024 most cryptocurrency users paying and getting paid using blockchain-based domain names. I think this is it's simpler, it's easier, and I think it's sort of inevitable. If you think about what happened with the internet, there were IP addresses, and it was very hard to find websites. And the moment that we introduced human-readable names, that's when things started to really catch fire. That's when the internet was able to mainstream. So I think the same is going to be true for blockchain-based domains. The other thing is that I think that we should see a healthy ecosystem of censorship-resistant websites out there in the world. Think about all the different places in the world where the internet is heavily censored. Those geographies should have a decent base of censorship-resistant websites. My hope would be that we would cross into the millions. I don't think that it's going to replace the entire internet in the next 5 years. I think that's probably more a 20-year journey. But I think we should start seeing some major benefits. We should start seeing some major uses and some major geographic pockets where this is a standard.
So I'm going to add another question to take us further out, and let me give you some context. So, 500 years ago, 2,000 years ago, a king, a queen started a castle. And their kids, and their kids, and their grandkids, and their great-grandkids built castles for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years they never enjoyed. And they would build something for the distant future. If your life and your career is castle building, what's the castle that you really are starting that you'll never finish, but it's worth the investment, the time, the toil, the adversity, because in 50 or 550 years, there will be a great benefit for your descendants and humanity as a whole?
That's a really good question.
He's right about that. I just thought of that question. I like it too.
And it's something that I've been thinking about a lot, and I think that the answer is to build a censorship-resistant internet. I think this is I think the internet was the most amazing invention in my lifetime, or of my life, or whatever, however you want to, maybe it was invented before I was alive, but it's broken. Our data isn't safe. Payments don't work natively. It's easy to censor. So that seems to me to be the sort of mega problem that humanity faces. And I think we're watching the seeds of this. We're seeing the internet now starting to be used by authoritarian governments. We're starting to see it being used for hyper-centralization. And I think that this is the kind of missing piece to the internet, which is that we need to decentralize it. So I think that's if my life's work were that and it were accomplished even after I was gone, I think I would say that was a full life.
I'm going to ask that question to everybody now. Hey, that was great. That was a lot of fun.
Thanks a bunch.
We'll be back, Twitter. We're going to roll to a video. I'll be back with another interview in just a moment. Can you tell us about the title of your talk and what you hope to communicate during that time?
Sure. So while we're very much into crypto or into non-fungible tokens, it's not something that we do 24/7 like a lot of other speakers at the conference. So we decided to give more of an overview and talk about something which we think is super important. And that's, we're at the very beginning of this brand new industry, crypto. We have no doubt that massive value is going to be created by this new technology, by this new computing platform. But the question to us is who's going to capture that value? And is it going to be the people like you and I and everybody else who's going to be at this conference, who are the pioneers of this brand new industry? Or is it going to be what I referred to as FAMGA, which are the big five of Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon? And they have captured more than 60% of all value created in tech over the last 5 years, which is crazy. So the amount of power they have is growing by the day. And I think Occam's razor would tell you that they're more likely to capture the value, the vast majority of the value, than guys like you or me. And so I'm going to talk about why I think that guys like you and me actually have a chance, and what we need to collectively do as a community to be the winners and capture the value and not have it be FAMGA.
Welcome to the shiny VIP lounge here at the PlayStation Theater in Times Square, New York. This is NFT.NYC, a 12-hour packed event with 85 speakers. John, you are one of 85 speakers, and that stage is just buzzing. So we're trying to bring it in a little more mellow, a little more natural fireside chat. And you and I got to do an interview over Zoom. That's right. That's how we met. So this is our second conversation in front of a camera. One day, John, you and I will just be sitting with no cameras, just a private cup of coffee, get to know each other. Tell everybody that doesn't know you and your company who you are and about Vault.io.
Great. So yeah, I'm. Are you holding? Oh, thank you, sir. So I'm John Egan. I'm the CEO of Vault.io. Right now, we're on the App Store. We're a DApp experience where you can go in and interact with existing DApps and NFTs. But what we're becoming is an NFT creation, sharing, and redeeming experience that's much more social. And today, we're going into private beta with just today, right now at our booth. We're letting people who come over and visit have access to the private beta and start to create collectibles on their own, getting distributed to other people on Vault.io.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Now, how did you find out about this event, and what were you hoping for today, and how have your expectations been met, exceeded, or talk to me about today?
So we've been getting deeper and deeper into the NFT space over the last 6 months to a year, and we just get more and more excited about it. So we know the OpenSea guys really well, who had told us about this conference coming up and said, we got to get involved. They're like, if you're going to go build a product that's totally engrossed in the NFT space, you've got to come and be part of this. And so here we are. And so we've got a booth up there. We have a blockchain-powered coffee machine where you can actually take a NFT, prove your ownership of it on the blockchain, and then the coffee machine will pour you a cappuccino or espresso or coffee of your choice. It's super cool. People are really loving it, especially now that the free coffee has disappeared. And we're having a lot of fun with it. We're proving that kind of digital physical barrier breakdown that can happen with NFTs, and we're starting to give people more of a real-world experience around these collectibles.
That's great. And for future events that OpenSea, People Browser do, season from now, year from now, what do you love about today? Like, what do you think to yourself, like, oh, you guys got to keep doing this? Yeah. And what would you like to see, added or morphed or changed for future blockchain NFT events?
Yeah, I got to tell you, we've been to a lot of conferences, and we're not massive conference fans, but we're having a blast here. And the reason is because this is all of the people who are building the usable future of blockchain. Like, I'm not running into speculators. There aren't a bunch of moon boys running around screaming about how they just made $1 million on blockchain. This is way more exciting. These are the people who are going to build the applications that everyone in the world uses. And that's way cooler. And so I think like that's what's exciting about this one. And in the future, I think there are going to be more and more conferences like this.
Yeah. That's great. 2019, December 31st, the end of the year.
Yep.
What makes you and your company successful? What are you going to accomplish this year?
So if we do our jobs, everyone in the world will be able to create NFTs, trade them with their friends, and create scarcity and demand around them. We'll make everyone an artist, if you will, where if you're creating digital art and you want to distribute it, we're the fastest way to go and get it onto the blockchain. Wow. If you're just a person who's out taking a vacation and wants to create a unique image of a celebrity you ran into, you can take that picture, you can have them sign it right there, you can commit that thing to the blockchain, and you have this permanent ownership and history record of that interaction and an ability to transfer it to other people. So if one day you want to sell it, you can.
That's awesome. You know, tonight I'm talking about NFT 2024, the future, right? And you, that's one reason why you and I connected a month ago. Right? I'm trying to collect your thoughts and the other people's thoughts and, you know, kind of like what's the collective hope for this industry in the next 5 years. So any new insights? Have you thought more about like NFT 2024 and just kind of share with us where you think things are going?
Yeah, so with like the coffee machine, we're getting really excited about this digital physical barrier, right? Where the minute you can prove ownership, you can do all kinds of cool things in the physical world that used to cost a lot of money. There's sort of this joke about ticketing in the blockchain and like, oh, it's not really going to work out, but the economics are really exciting, right? So the cost of validation on the blockchain of ownership of a wallet and therefore an NFT and therefore access to an event basically drops to zero. And so there's a lot of excitement around that, where if we start utilizing those instant verification pieces of the blockchain in the future, we're going to start seeing more titles written into the blockchain, like ownership of your car, ownership of your house. We're going to start seeing more access. How do you get into your school? How do you get into your office? We're going to start to see more evidence of things you've done. Ticket stubs for when you've gone to these conferences like become valuable and sold over time. And I think it's going to be really natural. It's not going to be talking about this weird thing I have on blockchain. It's just going to be, hey, check out this stuff I've got in my wallet. Check out these things I created. Just like artists need a medium to be able to sell and distribute the things they create, this is the future of that medium. We talk a lot about like media, right? We talk a lot about, you know, the Instagram of the world and photos and videos eating the world. But when we talk about NFTs, we're actually talking about a whole new media, right? It's not just the photo, it's not just the video, it's the underlying capability of the asset that you can have because of that proof of ownership. And that's what we're demoing with this coffee machine today. And I think today it looks like a toy. It's like a fun thing where you're like, hey, I got a coffee. But I think pretty soon we're going to see that's just a natural thing that you do. Like I'm going to a car dealership to pick up the car that I just bought. So I'm going to pop out my phone and I'm going to open it up and I'm going to prove my ownership. And it's not a transfer, it's just a proof. And I'll walk in and I'll have my car. And so by 2024, that's what we're going to be seeing.
That's awesome. Last question, I'm going to take you back and then I'm going to take you way ahead. So let's say 1,000 years ago, okay. King, queen, what they would do is they would start a castle. Their kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, great-great-great-grandkids would actually never enjoy it because it'd take 350 years to build the thing.
Right.
And generation after generation after generation would pour themselves into the development of a future for future generations and descendants.
Right.
What type of thing do you want to invest your career and your time into that even if you never see it come to full fruition, just the thought that 2,000 years from now, if the world's graced to keep going on that way, which I assume it will be, that you're like, I'm so glad that I went through adversity for that thing?
Gosh, that's a big question around a lot of things. So I'm an engineer by training. I'm an active practicing engineer. And what I really get excited about are projects and things that enable others to create, like the next platforms of the world. And blockchain is in that space, is why we originally got into it. But I think it's more specific than just this statement of blockchain. I think the thing that has to work for thousands of years is this higher level concept of trust and ownership and authenticated ownership. And I know I'm talking about that today in terms of these very specific use cases, but long term I think it's going to mean very different things. And I don't know what it is. I'm not going to predict what in 1,000 years we're using this for. This is a new medium. There's this idea that when medias are created, people don't really know what to do with them at first, right? Like we point a camera at a stage and we record people acting a play because that's what we think that video is supposed to be in the early days, right? Today, we're doing the same thing. Bitcoin as a camera, Ethereum as a camera. We're pointing it at the things we already know about. Cars, coffee machines, right? But what I'm excited about is coming up with these brand new ideas of, oh, I never really thought we could enable that kind of capability through mass ownership authentication. And maybe that starts to run governments. Maybe that starts to run more than money. And if that's the case, I think we're onto something really exciting. And I would love to have my name associated with that in 1,000 years.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. Thank you once again for joining me for another interview.
Great, thank you.
We're going to go to a 1-minute video and be right back with another interview. Twitter, we'll see you soon. That was great. Please, in your words, define an NFT?
Sure. So as we look at the marketplace, there are utility tokens, there are security tokens, and there are non-fungible tokens. And what differentiates non-fungible tokens is that each one is unique. So as opposed to in a security token where you have a share, well, it doesn't matter what share you have, all shares are exactly the same. But in non-fungible tokens, each token is unique. So it can be a collectible that grows in value, or it could be something like a ticket. And each ticket is unique. It's for a specific seat on a specific date. And we think that as we're talking about non-fungible tokens today, it's the incredibly early days. And what non-fungible tokens are going to be in 5 years, I think, is beyond anybody's imagination.
Welcome to the brilliant and shiny VIP Lounge at the PlayStation Theater here in Times Square, New York. And we are at NFT.NYC, and we're getting to know each other in front of a camera, which is always a fun experiment. Tell me and those that are watching about yourself and what you do.
So my name is Urban. I'm working with a company that's called ZeroXCert. We're based out of Slovenia, which is actually quite a long way away, right? What we do is we focus heavily on tooling. So for instance, we just released a open source framework, which is basically a JavaScript library for application developers. Now, to put it bluntly, Ethereum is a nice thing, right? But it's really not made for end user application developers, right? Exactly, which means that in between you've got like a few layers that you need to fill, which have been filled in other areas, right? So if you talk with web developers, you see that they primarily use a lot of frameworks to build their applications, which is sort of missing in this space. So what we did is, and we use this for our own production of other applications, we built a open source framework so that everybody can sort of participate in it, everybody can use it. There's no strings attached to it. There's no friction in it. There's no sales model behind it, right? It's really a community effort from our side.
That's great. That's great. And so tell me about how you got involved in this. How did you find out about this event? Why are you here? Just tell me, like, what was the attractor?
All right. So one part is, I spoke a little bit about the technology side that we do, but really we are also running this thing that's called the Non-Fungible Alliance, right? Yeah, exactly. There's currently about 100 members in it, and that was basically the reason that I started talking to a lot of people, which then eventually introduced me to the organizers. Cameron reached out, and we sort of hung out a little bit and basically made this happen, right? So again, thank you very much, Cameron. I really appreciate it, what you guys are doing here, so props to this. but yeah, so we're really deep in the technology side, but really also on the community side, which is a very, very important effort. I think that's sometimes sort of missing from the equation, right? And that is what brought us here, really.
That's great. And so how's today been? Like, you obviously had expectations. I imagine hopefully they've been met and exceeded. Like, how has today been? And give me some insight into what you're still hoping for through the end of the night.
So today has been absolutely mind-blowing. I go to a lot of conferences, right? I meet a lot of people, and there's different models how to do this. And what this team did is actually they brought a very personal touch to this. Before the event, there was a lot of engagement. Cameron was emailing us with updates and what do we have to do, and sort of trying to engage and build up a community around this. And I think that they really succeeded at this. So in that respect, it's something completely different, right? But just if you look at the speaker list and what people are talking about and how they're talking about it, I think it feels very different. High quality engagement, high quality topics as well. So I'm just really satisfied just being here.
That's good. I really like that feedback. Now, 3 months, a year from now, Peel Browser and OpenSea do another event, do many different events in the blockchain NFT space. What do you love? Like you guys got to keep doing this. And what would you like to see more for Transformer be added to kind of this space? Give me some insight in terms of how can we do things moving forward?
That's a broad question, right? I think what's eventually going to propel the space forward is better user experiences. Once we build these things, we're going to see an on-ramp of different users that are not sort of blockchain first or crypto first or NFT first for that matter, which is going to make these events bigger. It's going to make it more interactive. You're going to see more different use cases, because like if you look at the speaker list and how everything is being put together, we still see a lot of use cases from collectibles and gaming, right? This is sort of the big, which is okay. Like gaming has often been a catalyst for adoption of new technologies, but I think if we look like 12 months or 24 months down the line, you're going to see more use cases, bringing in more different people from different industries, making these events a bit more interactive.
That's great. Any question you wanted me to ask that you wanted to answer?
No, not really. I really think it's important that we give a huge shout out to the people putting this together. I really think, I don't want to overstate it or oversell it for that matter, but I think it's really amazing what they brought together. Like, people from the whole NFT space are here, more or less, really, and it deserves a lot of gratitude.
I'm in complete agreement with you. Tonight I'm speaking about NFT 2024, and it's not just my predictions or hopes, but I'm asking you and all the other speakers that come through. It's why I made 104 videos before the event. It's why I'm interviewing 40 people in this room. So as I get ready to share tonight, inspire me. Like, what do you hope happens in 5 years? What are you building toward? Yeah. NFT 2024, talk to me.
So I think that what we're going to see in 5 years is a long way, right?
Especially with today's space.
Exactly. I think that what we're going to see, at least what I see from my perspective, is a shift towards going into applications that are end-user facing and that sort of hide blockchain somewhere. You're still going to see, maybe secured by blockchain or issued on blockchain or something like that. But eventually what you're going to see is applications that are just applications, right? Or software or apps, dApps, whatever you want to call that. And they're going to be using non-fungible tokens or the blockchain or whatever, right? But it's going to be in the back. Because like literally today, if you open up a game, you don't know whether it's run on AWS or on Google server or whether they use Python or JavaScript or whatever. Right? You don't care about that. And I think we are collectively moving into that direction. Like, if you look at, for instance, wallet solutions or how end users are interacting or are going to be interacting with the blockchain, it's becoming more and more seamless. Right? So the space started with Satoshi and very technical and developers, and it took a few years. But I think what we see right now is movement towards how people are just using technologies. Right? You and I I hate logins for that matter, right? I want to have everything seamless. I want to have, I don't know, retina scan and fingerprint, stuff like that. And I think we're going to see that eventually in this space as well. So my 5-year prediction is it's just going to be somewhere in the background. Maybe you and I are going to know about it because we work in this space, but the average Joe is just going to be using an app.
Right. No one knows HTTPS. Nobody thinks about servers anymore. Nobody thinks about electricity or water. You know, for us in the first world, it's a natural thing that's in process. And of course, blockchain should become more and more like that over time. So I'm going to take you back and then forward, and then we'll kind of wrap up our conversation. 1,000 years ago, a king or queen goes to build a castle. They're never going to enjoy that castle. Yeah. Like their grandkids and their great-great-grandkids will never enjoy it because it's going to take 325 years to build a thing. For your life and your career, are you building a castle? If you are, or if you want to, what is it that you're willing to face adversity for? What is it that you're willing to face hardship for? What is it willing to invest your time, money, energy, life, reputation to build that you'll never enjoy, your kids will never enjoy? It's way out, but it's a worthy investment of a person's career and life to go after.
Well, for me personally, so I got in this space about 2 years ago, year and a half, something like that. And from that point on, I really started learning a lot about what you just said. So you're alluding to building infrastructure, right? Like the base stuff for everybody else to enjoy. So I think that I view myself and our efforts with the company more as building sort of not the bricks for the castle or the base layer of the castle, but more of building the storefront of it or the market or you know, the kitchen for it, so that I don't think that we're 15 generations out for the people to be using this, but I do think that there's sort of still a time frame that we need to go through in order to do that. But I actually think that most people in this room are going to be building stuff for the next 1 million or 10 million users, and it's actually not that far out.
That's great. Well, I'm glad you took time to jump in here with me. Absolutely. And yeah, this is a lot of fun. Twitter, we'll be back. Facebook, YouTube, we're going to roll to a clip and be right back with another interview. See you in a moment. First questions I like to ask is, can you please define NFT? What is a non-fungible token in your words? Rolling. Microphone's back on.
First, I think it's a digital scarf.
Hi, Todd.
Tade.
But okay. And Tade is going to explain the blockchain using poker as a reference.
Wait, hold on. And who are you? Come on in, my partner, my brother.
I'm Raymond.
You have to be here. You'll lose the poker.
Okay, I'm going to lose that poker. Yeah. Tade. Here we go.
All right.
So it's a simple analogy of how blockchain works. So let's say we want to play poker because we're poker fans, but we don't have chips. So to make it fair, let's say each of us has a block of paper, and we'll write, and this is a high stakes poker, like $5,000 each in it. Like we're playing for high stakes. Yes. We don't want anyone to cheat. So we each have a piece of paper. I have 5,000 tokens. You poker chips. Sorry. And you have 5,000 poker chips, and he has 5,000 poker chips. We play around. He wins. He gets some poker chips. You lose some, of course. And each of us writes the new state on our paper, so we know it's fair. We play a couple more rounds. The states change. We correct our papers, each of us, and then he says, "Okay, I'm going all in, all of my 6,000 chips." Yes. And like, you don't have that much chips. And he's like, "Yeah, I do. I do." And now all of us can verify what happened, and we can agree that he does not have. He only has 3,000. Or yeah, that's more likely. Yeah. And that's basically a concept of how blockchain works. It's good. And you can. It's a good analogy. Yeah. And you can also like more hard concepts like transaction or nodes or anything. You can explain with this as well. Like each of us writing down, we're a node. Right. Each of states change we do, it's a transaction. Yeah. And if we fill out our paper, and that's all the room we have. We have to put another paper and use it, and put it on top of it, and that's a block.
So what's an NFT in this?
Well, now you threw me a curveball in a poker game.
And what if I stake my Rolex watch? Let's say I run out of chips and I throw in my Rolex watch and he
sign it first.
Yeah, he lost a lot. Like, so he goes all in.
1 of 1.
Yeah, he goes all in with his apartment, right? With his deed to his apartment, right?
It's getting bad.
Yeah.
I like this poker game because I win all in the end.
Now, as long as this isn't a real virtual poker game that we're having right now, that's being recorded, I'm good because I haven't even seen my cards yet.
Well, you have a joker.
And his name is Tade.
Ah.
Thank you. Fun. I'm glad you brought
Awesome.
it up.
All right, thanks, guys.
Now we're rolling to a video. We'll be back in just a moment. That's cool.
Okay.
I think it's a digitally scarce item, and that's already huge. It's an item that you can use and trade freely. So you can really do whatever you want with your digital good, and that's something that we have been deprived for a while. So to me, that's very, very exciting times to be in that new industry.
Now, you're speaking about how NFTs are reshaping the sports fan experience. Tell me a bit about what you're going to talk about and what you hope to communicate.
So what's fascinating about NFTs in sports and in a lot of different topics is that you can do stuff with NFTs that you couldn't do before with traditional digital goods. And regarding sports, there's at least 3 ways it's going to reshape the industry. The first way is the collecting experience, because you will be able to collect scarce digital items for the first time. So that's just this stuff is already huge. The second thing is that you're going to be able to use those items in an open ecosystem of games, not being restricted in a closed ecosystem, but really being able to move these assets and use them in different games. And the third thing is that you will be able to be a member, because depending on the ownership of an item, you could have specific privilege that you could do, like ticket reductions or stuff like that. So that's this membership thing tied to the ownership of NFT. That's very interesting as well. So it's going to reshape it from different angles and different industries, but yeah, that's the basic overview of what I'm going to be speaking.
Welcome to the Golden VIP Lounge here at the PlayStation Theater in Times Square, New York. We are at NFT.NYC. It is a 12-hour amazing electric event with several hundred attendees, 85 speakers, and this is the more organic, mellow, relational fireside chat room. So, Alex, introduce yourself and what you do so people that don't know you can learn a bit about who you are.
Sure. First, I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. I'm a CEO and founder of Celsius Network. So we basically created a simple app that you can download on Google or App Store that pays you interest on your crypto, right? What a genius idea.
That's great.
But we also issue loans, dollar loans, so you can borrow from us at 4 or 5%, and you can earn 4 or 5% interest as well by just depositing your coins. We basically take all the interest and we distribute it to our community. We have over 50,000 users, growing real fast, and we launched in July 1st of 18, and did over 600 30 million in the loans in the 6 months.
That's amazing. That's a real service to this industry.
Exactly, and it's a real utility that a lot of people are concerned about what can you actually do with the coins. So we are showing that here is an application that everybody in the world can use. We charge half of what the banks charge, and we pay 3 or 4 times in interest income than what the banks pay. So we're just basically giving all of it back to the community.
Yeah, that's great. And so this event, how did you find out about it? Why are you here? Like, was it related to with Jody and Peel Browser? So just give me a little insight, because you're a big sponsor. I mean, really, everybody should come up and say thank you, Alex. Thank you for underwriting the event and making this possible. But give me a little insight how this all happened.
So look, we are big supporters of the crypto community, and when Jody said, I'm going to throw this event in New York, I mean, it's our hometown. I've been here for 35 years, and I really think that NFTs or non-fungible tokens are an amazing part of the future of this community, right? Because I think you have the utility token, you got the security token, you got the stable coin, but the 4 leg of the stool is non-fungible tokens, because basically almost every asset out there is unique, and all these assets are going to have a representation on the blockchain, and they're going to have a non-fungible token representing them. Most people don't understand that. Most people think it's Ethereum or Bitcoin. No, there's a whole other class. So we're here to support the community. We're cheering for every winner. There's no losers here. Everybody's experimenting, trying to find the next big thing, and we need a huge success story to take the whole community to the next levels. We had the Bitcoin, then we had ICOs, and we're looking, okay, what is that next thing that's going to take us to mass adoption?
That's great. How's today been for you? I mean, obviously you had some expectations about today. I assume that some were met, some have been exceeded. Maybe you have hope for different things happening in the future events, but just walk me through today and the experience of what you've absorbed so far.
Well, look, coins are down 80%, so everybody thought there's going to be 5 people here, right? We were like, okay, it's going to be a few speakers talking to each other. But the attendance is amazing. I think there's 450 people here, and a lot of them from out of town. People flew in from Japan, they flew in from the West Coast, from other countries. So you can see the resilience and the dedication of the community and the exhibitors and the speakers. And again, Jody putting it together. I mean, he gets kudos, he gets... all credit goes to him. I'm just cheering and supporting and participating. So,
How would you like to see Jody and OpenSea's events happen in the future? Let's just assume they're in New York, right? So in a season, in a year, like what would you love to see stay the same? And what would you love to see maybe more for add or transform? Like, give me some insight in terms of like, gosh, I'd love for the fall event to be the same or this change, right?
Well, I think
because Jody's listening. Jody, this is what Alex wants.
So I think we need more balance between networking and speaking. I think just giving some time for networking, because a lot of people are coming here just for that. So creating those windows of opportunity and then giving incentive for people to sit in the room and listen to the presentations as well. So I told him, move all the food inside the room, move all the coffee there and the free food, whatever, to get people in there and so on. But overall, look, this is about the content, and it's about making connections, and it's about making partnerships. Like we already met a few people that we are partnering with that are here from both from the city and outside of the city. So I already got more than I expected out of this event. And, we gave free wallet to everybody, a Celsius wallet with some money in it. So, I think other people got something out of it too.
That's great. What are you hoping to accomplish this year? Like December 31st, 2019, what makes you and Celsius successful in your mind?
So we did 630 million in 6 months. Our goal for 2019 is 2 billion in loans. So that's a very, very high goal. That's 10 times more than all of our competitors put together. And it's not that I'm bragging. I'm just trying to, again, be that breakout applications, because with that we can bring hundreds of thousands, if not millions of users into this community. Everybody out there needs to pay less on their loans and earn more on their money. So you want to bring them and have them leave the fiat world and come to the crypto world, you got to give them value. You got to create value for them. And that's what we're trying to do. So for us, it's less about the existing community, and it's all about bringing all those people to scale what we're all doing. Because if we just send coins to each other, even the 25 million accounts that exist today, we're not going to get anywhere. So this is all about mass adoption. It's about the next 100 million people to come into the crypto community, And that's what I'm focused on. How do I bring them? How do I get them to stay? How do I get them to be generous and interact and lend to others, right? And as long as we keep it all inside the community, we all benefit. The guys that lose are the banks and the financial institutions who are ripping us off every day. I mean, it's just that simple.
That is very, very simple. Tonight, I'm talking about NFT 2024, and it's not just my predictions or my hope for the industry in 5 years, but it's a big reason why I'm in this room doing 40 interviews today. Sure. It's a big reason why I did dozens of interviews on Zoom this last month, made the 104 videos. I'm trying to ask, what are your 5-year hopes, predictions, aspirations, so that way I can kind of be inspired and maybe roll in some of what other people are thinking as I deliver a short little inspirational shot in the arm for folks. So 2024, blockchain, 2024, NFT, what do you think?
So look, last year we were all excited about CryptoKitties. I think 5 years from now, we're going to have a few winners. We're going to have several tokens that made it, that had millions of users. And I think they're all going to be surprises to us. Just like CryptoKitties, who would imagine, right? So it's all about what is that, who it is, supporting them, scaling them, right? And riding their tails. Because all of us need that killer app that's going to scale and allow us to all be successful, right? Because adoption, I don't care where it comes from, is good for the community. It's good for Bitcoin, it's good for Ethereum, it's good for anyone in this community because it's all going to propagate across all the different chains. So I can't tell you today what it looks like, but I think you're going to have a very big winner on a stable coin. You're going to have one coin that's going to really, stable coin that's going to own that, right? And it's going to be tens of billions of dollars worth of value. You're going to have several utility tokens. Hopefully one of them is Celsius that really kind of dominate. You're going to have a few security tokens that really go out there and have listed companies or represent listed securities. And then you're going to have a few killer NFTs. And in the next 5 years, again, those are going to represent billions of dollars in accumulated asset value, right? So the question is what that category. Is it healthcare? Is it real estate? Is it insurance? Is that, again, is it a Picasso or something? We don't know. So there's a lot of experimentation going on. Again, part of my excitement is that the smartest people I know are all here trying to crack the code, right? They left amazing jobs. They quit their fancy, jobs on Wall Street firms or on, like Google or Microsoft or whatever, and they're here experimenting. And as long as you see that talent coming in, I'm not worried at all. I know coins are down 80%, and people are like, oh, rest in peace. Now, okay? We are just at the beginning, and this revolution is unstoppable. It doesn't matter what anybody out there, how they're trying to stop us. It's just not going to happen.
Any question you wanted me to ask you that you were hoping to answer?
Well, look, my ask for all the viewers is that this is not about sitting on the sidelines and hoping that somebody else will deliver for you, right? All of us have to go and reach out, be generous, and reach out and bring 10 people into crypto. People that are not the skeptics, the people who are on the sidelines or thinking, well, maybe I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. No, send them a few free coins, let them understand what this is all about, bring them into the tent, and then make them ambassadors for all of us as well. So whatever your passion is, if it's NFTs or if it's utility tokens or whatever, just get more people involved in it, because the only way we scale this is we convert. Like every day I bring 10 new people into crypto, and that's what it's all about. So I'm asking all of you to do the same.
You hear him? Last thing I'm going to mention, I'll take it back and then we'll go forward. So 1,000 years back, king and queen start building a castle.
Yes.
Their grandkids and great-great-grandkids will never enjoy it because it takes 325 years to finish it. And that was a mentality,
long-term thinking, yes.
A millennia ago, that was the mentality. Today, it's like, I want to get rich this week, this month, this year. Okay, yes. I want to be famous this week, this month, this year. I want to be this week, this month, this year. So, of course, you and I are investing our life, and we're going through toil and adversity and hardship, and we'll always do that. We won't see all the benefit, but if there is a thing or things that you're going to put your life into that you already know, like, this is not really going to play out for many generations from now, what is it that you want that energy to be put forth into, and why?
Well, so Celsius is my 8th startup, right? I did 7 startups before that. And you're right. I mean, for me, It's all about creating. It's all about enablement. And you know, all of us, we're just standing on the shoulders of giant, of the achievements that other people achieved ahead of us. The young generation, I have 6 kids at home. You know, the young generation, you're right, they all think they're going to be Kardashians, they're never going to have to work for a living, and somehow everything is just going to happen to them. So they're all going to have their lesson in life. They're all going to hit the wall. They're all going to realize that their talent might not be a big Kardashian, but it's something else. And finding that talent is the hardest thing. The great thing about this blockchain revolution, right, the decentralization revolution, is that because everything on the planet has to be reinvented as a blockchain application, that represents more opportunity than ever before. All these youngsters, all these guys here who think, oh, you know, Alex, you were there at the good times where it was easy to start a company. No, it was never easy. But there's more opportunity today than ever before. When I was at the beginning of the internet didn't touch everything. It wasn't about reinventing everything. But here, decentralization has to reinvent everything. Everything that exists today has to be reinvented as a decentralized movement. Why? Because the young people are not going to stand for it. I mean, the Gen X, you know, all of the guys, the millennials, they're just not going to accept what happened before. So yes, they are short-term thinkers, but they actually have very, very deep-rooted standards that care about the world, making the world a better place, and so on. So in that context, they might have to learn a lesson. They might hit a wall a few times, but I'm actually a big believer and a big, you know, I think they're going to deliver. I'm not worried about them not delivering because they're procrastinators. They complain a lot, but they're actually here. They're doing it for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Pleasure. Thanks for having
That was
us.
fun. That was
Take
fun.
care.
We're going to roll a quick video and be right back with another interview. We'll see you soon, Twitter. First questions I like to ask is, can you please define NFT? What is a non-fungible token, in your words?
So first, I think it's a digitally scarce item, and that's already huge. It's an item that you can use and trade freely. So you can really do whatever you want with your digital good, and that's something that we have been deprived for a while. So to me, that's very, very exciting times to be in that new industry.
This space, why I'm so excited about it now, is our industry is desperately in need of killer applications. And so my focus is in this area and the handful of others where I envision near-term, practical, scalable use cases for blockchain. So I'm all in on NFTs.
welcome to this beautiful VIP lounge at the PlayStation Theater inside the Times Square, New York extravaganza. It's crazy and snowy outside, but we're fairly warm in here. This is NFT.NYC. It is a 12-hour non-stop slammed event. Several hundred people registered, 85 speakers, and it's pretty intense on the main stage. So we try to create a more comfortable space to have some, mellow fireside chat type interviews. So, Seth, please introduce yourself and your company for those that don't know who you are, what you do.
Sure. So I'm Seth Fibus. I work on a project called Nifty Supply. Nifty Supply empowers artists and brands to authenticate, distribute, and monetize their work through a permissionless, non-fungible token creation platform.
Great. And how did you find out about this event, and why did you come?
Yeah, so actually it was pretty funny. Cameron and Jody happened to be at Crypto.NYC, where my company works out of, and they were looking to speak with someone else, but I wound up linking up with them by happenstance. And this was back when they only had maybe 18 speakers or so, and it was pretty cool that I was able to sign up for a speaker, to be a speaker so quickly. And it's just been awesome to see how it's developed so far.
That's great. That's great. And so, expectations, you must have had some. I imagine some were met. Hopefully many were exceeded. Maybe some that you have hey, I'd love to see this change. Talk to me about today. What's the experience been like for you?
Sure. Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind is just the sheer diversity of all the projects in the space. It's just amazing to see what people can do with this primitive that is the NFT. And the NFT, it's sort of a new paradigm for blockchain development. It allows you to do all these complicated, sort of relationships centered around objects, and I think it's really powerful.
That's great. And your company, December 31st, 2019, what makes you and your co-founder and your team and your company successful by the end of this year? What is the metric, the goal that you're driving after this year?
Ultimately, we're an artist-centric platform, and we value solving artist problems overall. So if we can sufficiently reach our goals of helping artists get more predictable revenue streams, I'd say we're doing good.
That's great. Now, you mentioned you want to introduce your co-founder, kind of tag team and switch out. And so why don't you tell me who she is and then bring her on up.
Sure. So this is Beth. Beth McCarthy. She works on...
Hey, Beth, come on in.
She does ecosystem development for Nifty Supply and works out of Starfish, where she leads the mechanism design lab.
That's great. Okay, you can high five and tag out, and Beth, you're in. So come on in and join me.
So what's up?
So how has this been today?
It's been pretty awesome. So it's really cool. In San Francisco, there's a lot more focus on the developer community. So kind of, what protocols are exciting to develop, kind of the community building around that. Whereas in New York, it's a lot more around kind of the artists themselves, like the art ecosystem itself is much more established. So what I'm really excited about is working on kind of connecting in these two forces of energy, people who are so excited to build useful protocols to solve problems, and artists who are just have a whole spectrum of perspective on these problems, and uniting them through user-centered mechanism design to do some cool stuff.
Yeah, that's great. What question should I have asked you or your co-founder that you want to answer?
So maybe, he spoke about how our goal is to have artists be connected with, novel funding mechanisms and kind of ways to, be actually supported in making a living for their art. So I would love to talk a little more about how that can actually work. Using NFTs, the kind of combination of NFTs and token engineering or mechanism design. So, what we're really excited about is the fact that, NFTs have the potential to, represent a specific artwork, but also represent an idea or an initiative that can be staked into. So our kind of first step kind of on the ground is building a residency program or a fellowship program using NFTs. So what that means is having, this specific piece of art or, a piece of research or, just a unit of thought as represented by an NFT that people, are interested in making this exist. So it's staking into this piece of art, funding, a residency program that's able to grow throughout the ecosystem by, just first funding this one piece of art, and then that way the artists can be involved in defining the parameters of their own residency program. We can play around with kind of weighted voting mechanisms such as token bonding curves to really establish a values-driven, results-driven, ethical, like artist-centered program to like really push forward this ecosystem. And so kind of how we're referring to this is like fractional ownership, which, I'm sure you talk to a lot of people about, kind of powering collective stewardship. So protecting artists, protecting their works, and protecting our values as people who want to support emerging and anti-establishment artists. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. I love your laugh. Tonight I'm talking about NFT 2024. So I'm doing the final keynote, kind of like the hope, the projection of what could be in the next 5 years. And I didn't want to just kind of say, this is what I think. In fact, I didn't really know anything. I'm like, NFTs, I better do some research. So what I did was I interviewed several dozen speakers today and dozens before the event, and I've kind of collected the thoughts of what people are trying to build toward, right? Nice. So NFT 2024. Give me your insights. What do you hope it will be or think it will be?
Remind me of exactly how that would be defined.
Well, go this way.
2024,
so,
yeah.
In the next 5 years, what would you like to see the NFT side of the blockchain industry develop into? What type of accomplishments in the tech, in the enterprise adoption, in the consumer adoption, in the scalability, in the number of users would you like to see, and how would maybe you and your company like to build toward them?
Totally. Well, I think a major, just the very first thing that comes to mind is the fact that there's still a lot of talk about, the art world and helping artists without separating from the art establishment and Christie's and all this stuff versus what it means to actually support emerging artists who need, access to resources that help them live and have to choose and have this quantum between, expressive production and, representing the values of a community through art, enabling a speculative imminent future through art, and having to make that choice between how to actually survive day to day while doing that. And so I truly feel that NFTs are able to close the loop on that if we can figure out these, clever funding mechanisms, and that we can make it possible to, actually have ethical, values-based, non-corporate interest, providing these funding mechanisms. So people ask me a lot, what's the connection between tech and art? How can we close the loop with art and blockchain? And I really, from doing probably talking about 50 emerging artists and being what are the needs that you actually have as an artist? It's just that being able to connect, financial support to actually, making creative, innovative, boundary pushing work. So if it's, if we're able to even be a little part of making that happen and just pushing that discourse, I'll be really satisfied.
That's
so
awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome. Well, my last question is, if you go back 1,000 years, a queen during that time might say, we're going to build a castle. It may not be done for 325 years, and my grandkids and great-great-great-great-grandkids will have to work on it and never enjoy it, but it will be worth it for what it will mean for our descendants, our community, our tribe, our people, our land.
Yeah.
I think more people of our generation should be building castles with their careers. So if you are going to invest your time, energy, money, resources, if you're going to face adversity and hardship for something that you will not enjoy in this lifetime, that is too far out, what is it that you want to be a part of? And how would you kind of frame that and share that?
Yeah, well, it's interesting, I guess. Being in San Francisco, it's kind of a center of a microcosm of this debate, where it's this very pressing question, that literally goes block by block as the city becomes gentrified, of how do we keep artists as part of the cultural discourse while they're artists are getting pushed out of actually being able to survive and produce, as I mentioned. And so I think that pushing back from that being it's more that is this wave of outcomes that's happening, and if we can just push back a little bit from that outcome and provide an infrastructure for generations to keep pushing back against that outcome, I think then we have a actual future that's not driven by the cultural industry stagnation, and instead is able to actually use the technologies that we're building to foster creativity and actually have, a responsible way of, supporting everyone and not just having this like bland, banal, like, passive civilization. So yeah, I would say, laying the very first foundations, with actual blocks of NFTs, to building a castle that everyone can have access to without compromising their values. So
That's awesome. Well, I'm so glad that both of you came to do a little interview, and that was fun. I hope that you enjoyed it. And Facebook and YouTube, we'll be right back after this short video. Twitter, we'll see you soon. Fun. Now, you're speaking about how NFTs are reshaping the sports fan experience. Tell me a bit about what you're going to talk about and what you hope to communicate.
So what's fascinating about NFTs in sports and in a lot of different topics is that you can do stuff with NFTs that you couldn't do before with traditional digital goods. And regarding sports, there's at least 3 ways it's going to reshape the industry. The first way is the collecting experience, because you will be able to collect scarce digital items for the first time. So that's just this stuff is already huge. The second thing is that you're going to be able to use those items in an open ecosystem of games, not being restricted in a closed ecosystem, but really being able to move these assets and use them in different games. And the third thing is that you will be able to be a member, because depending on the ownership of an item, you could have specific privilege that you could do, like ticket reductions or stuff like that. So that's this membership thing tied to the ownership of NFT. That's very interesting as well. So it's going to reshape it from different angles and different industries, but yeah, that's the basic overview of what I'm going to be speaking.
Welcome to the Golden VIP Lounge here at NFT.NYC. We are inside the PlayStation Theater in Times Square, New York, and I am with a hero to many people in the technology world. Lou, please introduce yourself and what you do, and I can't wait to have this conversation.
Sure. So I'm Lou Kerner. I'm a co-founder of Crypto Oracle, and we are a community-first VC. So we really believe that the biggest difference between crypto and everything that came before it is community. And so we have 12 different community-building initiatives, the largest one of which is Crypto Mondays.
It's great. Crypto Mondays has become an international sensation, and so that's certainly a great success. Tell me about how you found out about this event and why you got involved as one of the speakers. Was it a relationship with Jody and Peel Browser or OpenSea? Like, give me a little insight into how this all happened.
Sure. So I think Jody reached out because of our community, and we have different communities. A lot of conferences actually reach out to us to see if we'll partner with them in some way, and Jody reached out. And the reason that I wanted to get involved in the conference is, again, coming back to this whole community idea, is you need to incentivize community. The idea of a community, everybody gets more out of it than they than they put in, and that's the magic. And to date, our industry is largely focused on cash-like incentives. So you mine a Bitcoin, so you get a Bitcoin, and then you turn it into cash, and that's great. Nothing's wrong with that. But it turns out the vast majority of things that you want to incentivize community members to do, you can't really. There's not enough money in it to really pay them to incentivize them enough. So non-cash incentives, we really believe, are going to be the dominant form of incentivization for decentralized communities, and to some degree, that's NFTs.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. How has today been? Like, so you must have had expectations, right? Sure. I mean, there's 85 speakers. It's an oversold out crowd, several hundred attendees. It's 12 hours nonstop. You must have had expectations, good, bad, and different, and some were hopefully met and exceeded. But just give me an idea. Like, how has the day gone so far for you?
you know, I don't do NFTs 24/7. It's you can't be the smartest guy in the room about everything, it turns out. And so for me, it's been I've done a lot more learning. I've listened to a lot more people speak than I do generally. The quality of the speakers has really been amazing. It's really a who's who of NFT. So from my perspective, somebody interested in learning more, oh my God, it's been an awesome day.
Now, how about for future events, right? In a season, in a year, People Browser and OpenSea and you do another event or several events. What do you want to say, hey, gosh, we should not change this, but I'd love to see this morph and this addition? Like, what would you like to see as these, blockchain events that are focused around the NFT community, the gaming community, the art community, and that's what it kind of is for the most part now. What would you like to see them become?
That's a great question. I'm not sure I've got a great answer to it. I think Jody and Cameron did a great job of putting this on. I think, the problem, they had too many speakers to some degree, so the Q&A was really short. I had a lot of questions for guys I wasn't able to ask. So, that would be the first thing that comes to mind is leave a little time for Q&A.
A little more time for Q&A, guys. But besides that, very impressed. I mean that from the bottom of my heart, and I know you do as well. December 31st, 2019, the end of the year, the next 10 months, what do you and Crypto Oracle need to accomplish for you to say, mission accomplished, job well done, we really did a great job this year?
Yeah, I think coming back to Crypto Mondays, which is our largest community initiative, we're targeting to get to over 100,000 members and really be the largest crypto community, decentralized, offline in the world. We already are, but we think there's tremendous growth, and we really want to build then a decentralized. And this isn't a 2019, unfortunately, but we've already started building a decentralized platform for community building and engagement, which we really think can be a great mitzvah for the industry.
That's great. Is there a question you wanted me to ask I haven't asked yet?
No, look, you've done a great job. You're a pro at this. It's been great to watch a lot of the videos you've shot, so thanks a lot for that.
Yeah. So I'm talking NFT 2024. We already discussed that at one point, but maybe just walk me through, like, what are your hopes? Maybe they're the same or they've transitioned a little bit in the next 5 years, or what are you and your team trying to build, invest in, that you'd like to see come to fruition in the next 5 years or so?
Yeah, I really believe, and I think we talked about this a little bit before, that the only thing I'm certain of is whatever it turns out to be, and I'm talking broadly, crypto is different from what anybody thinks it's going to be. And what actually my topic of conversation today was, I'm so certain of the massive wealth creation that's going to happen, but the question is who's going to capture that wealth creation from all these new technologies. And so in 5 years, my hope is that the people in this room capture the NFT, all the value that's been created, and not the monstrous Googles, Facebook, Amazons of the world.
I know. I'm very intrigued by your take, and I hope that people will absorb what you talked about and what you continue to talk about again and again, and really wrap their head around that conversation. I'm going to ask you one last question. We're going to go back 1,000 years to go forward. So 1,000 years ago, innovators like you, men that were kings, the great artists, whether they were painters or they were authors, they built castles. Let's just take the king, because that's easy. He would say, I'm going to build a castle. It's going to take 325 years to be accomplished, which means the king committed his life, his grandkids' life, his great-great-great-great-great-grandkids' life to basically toil and suffer and face adversity and invest money and sweat and tears in their life into something they would never, ever enjoy because it was worth it for humanity, for their descendants, for their region. What castle are you building, and what do you want to inspire others that are thinking about these long-term legacy things to invest their life into, their career into, that's more of a castle development, because it won't really come to fruition until 2300?
Look, I think all of what's going on now, and again, I don't think the guys at Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, I don't think they're bad guys at all. I think they're great capitalists, and kudos to them, and it's great for them and their shareholders. But for the rest of the world, there's actually a better way. There's a way, through decentralization, there's a way of, owning all your data, everything that crypto is all about. How do we make that happen and have it be in control of us and not them? And that's why we're all in community, because I think that's really the major tool that we have to compete. If we work together as a community, we create systems where we can get incentivized to give to the community because the community is getting back to us. That's how we get to be a better world. And oh my God, what a great legacy for us it would be, right?
This is a good conversation. Right. Thanks for joining me, Lou. Thanks for joining me. We'll be right back after this short intermission video as I bring up another speaker to finalize everything. See you soon, Twitter. Now, you're speaking about how NFTs are reshaping the sports fan experience. Tell me a bit about what you're going to talk about and what you hope to communicate.
So what's fascinating about NFTs in sports and in a lot of different topics is that you can do stuff with NFTs that you couldn't do before with traditional digital goods. And regarding sports, there's at least 3 ways it's going to reshape the industry. The first way is the collecting experience, because you will be able to collect scarce digital items for the first time. So that's just this stuff is already huge. The second thing is that you're going to be able to use those items in an open ecosystem of games, not being restricted in a closed ecosystem, but really being able to move these assets and use them in different games. And the third thing is that you would be able to be a member, because depending on the ownership of an item, you could have specific privilege.
Hello, YouTube and Facebook. I'm loving you right now, and I have a list of reasons why. Write down in the comments, share, and like, and I'd be happy to tell you why. So we're about done for this segment. This was our third non-stop fireside chat craziness. And I think I've interviewed like 25 people. I have another at least 10 to go. We're going to stop right now. It's, I believe, 4:15 East Coast time. We will start back up again around 4:45 EST. And some of my favorite folks that I've been looking forward to having conversations with, they're doing big things in this industry, are going to be doing an interview with me in just a moment. And at the end of the night, 7:30 EST, I will be speaking the final keynote about NFT 2024, the future of this side of the blockchain industry. And that's why I've been doing all these interviews. That's why I interviewed dozens of speakers before this event to find out what they think about the future of blockchain. And so I just want to inspire you to stay engaged. This is definitely, now if you're watching the archive, then that's great too. Like, I would stay engaged with this content, and I would share this content because, you know, in my opinion, what people need in the tech space is longer vision. To not be in such a rush. Take your time. In fact, build something that maybe you'll never even enjoy. Like, have a castle that you build, right? Build a castle for people. And also, optimism. Because my premise is this. I believe that we do not have to face a altered carbon, Black Mirror, Electric Dreams, Blade Runner, Terminator future. We can have more of a Jetsons, Her, right? Star Trek future. But it will take good people like you to use your imagination to think through what could be, and to use your voice to speak forth, and then to use your action to create. And so that's my challenge to you. You know, I mean, I don't really care if you share, comment, and like this video. That's so vain. What I care about is what you do with your life, with your words, and with your actions. And so that's what I leave you with as I go take a half-hour break and get ready to come back, is for you to think through, what are you building with your life? What castle are you building? Because that is a worthy pursuit for anybody. And so as we get ready to end the stream, I want to say one last time, thank you so much for your attention.